on this episode of Mythbusters.
Come to me.
Yeah.
Shall we go look at the evidence?
No.
Hello. I'm talking to you from a bunker 2 leagues below a building known to the public as M5. Behind me, the Hyneman watches hundreds of feeds from Mythbusters over years past, but not out of narcissism. No, this has a purpose. The powers that be have allowed the Hyneman to sift through all the constructions that he's done over the past 10 years, to find one that he found unsatisfying and wants to revisit. One that will bring a smile, an invisible smile underneath his prodigious mustache.
Would you shut up?
Yeah, can it, Adam? Because this episode is all about second chances. With over a decade of episodes and 850 myths to choose from, they've scanned the archives for their greatest unsolved mysteries. Adam and Jamie have a blast from the past as they mix Dynamite and DIY once again.
Oh, what modern inventions will we come up with next?
But can they deck the walls
I call this my psychedelic spring.
and paint a room with a boom?
Congratulations, you finally made the Death Star.
Go!
Meanwhile, Carrie, Tori, and Grant
It flows.
are fulfilling a fan fantasy,
Oh, this is gonna be so awesome.
going full steam ahead to split a boat.
Mythity split it.
Testing first by sea
Come on, come on, come on, come on!
and then on land.
This is it, man. 3, 2, 1.
But can they finally splinter their timbers and tear a boat in two?
If there's one thing I like, it's fast.
Who are the Mythbusters? Adam Savage
I reject your reality and substitute my own.
and Jamie Hyneman.
Almost too exciting.
Between them, more than 30 years of special effects experience. Together with Grant Imahara,
This is why we can never have anything nice.
Carrie Byron,
Science gets more fun when I get a bigger gun.
and Tori Belleci.
Say hello to our little friend.
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test. First, Adam and Jamie are brushing up on their arts and blasts.
For those of you playing at home, Painting with Explosives is a show we did years ago based on an episode of the British comedy Mr. Bean, in which a stick of dynamite is placed in a bucket of paint, and when it blows up, it perfectly paints the room it's in without destroying the room.
Yeah, but our explosives didn't do a very good job of it, did they?
Nah, I think we ended up more like staining the walls than actually painting them.
Yeah, it was a Jackson Pollock sort of a moment.
Yeah, barely.
Yep, the last time we tested this weapon of mass decoration, our painters and detonators
Coverage, total crap.
got paint on the walls,
That's horrible.
but you wouldn't call it home improvement.
So you think you could actually do it this time? You have a new design in mind?
Well, I'd like to try, and as you know, I have a thing about actually harnessing the power of explosives to do work instead of just blowing crap up.
I have some ideas of my own. Let's say for this episode, we go off to our separate corners and each try a solution and see if we can't finally achieve painting with explosives.
Sounds like fun.
All right? Boom.
So the guys will split up and each craft their own room boom. But that's going to take some bomb range R&D.
What a lovely day. Let's blow something up.
And first to take up the brush is Adam.
I'm going all the way back to basics. I'm gonna take a little chunk of C4 and a bag of paint and a surface. I'm gonna blow up the C4 and watch what it does to the paint on the surface.
So Adam's plan is to start small.
C4 goes here, paint hangs here, my test canvas goes here.
Under the watchful eye of J.D. Nelson to explore what happens when paint meets explosive meets canvas.
Painting with explosives. First experiment in 3, 2, 1, go. Fascinating. Fascinating. It just like goes. That's not at all what I expected to happen. That's information. That was the whole point of this test.
That fraction of coverage is a long way from what Adam needs.
Boom.
And the action replay reveals why.
Whoa, the paint's still there. Wow.
It's totally not vaporizing. It's too far away. That is radical.
Awesome. Okay. I know what to do next.
Yep, for test 2, Adam's got something different on his plate.
So the difference between this blast and the last one is that I am going to move the paint much closer, in fact, right on top of the C4. And second, as you probably already surmised by this, I'm going to give the C4 a reflecting backing plate, this big, heavy piece of steel. Oh, cool. There it is. There you go. I'm not actually sure if this is going to work, but it's going to be really different than the last one, and that's going to tell me something. In 3, 2, 1, go. Whoa! That was far more effective.
The backing plate certainly reflected the paint onto the board and everywhere else.
Yo. Hi there. How you doing? Hi. The high-speed shot of my blue paint explosion is absolutely gorgeous. I got exactly the vaporized fog of paint that I was looking for, and most of it ended up on the 4x8 of wood that I had placed there to receive the paint. It's about as far as you'd get if you wanted to roll that much paint onto that board.
And that's exactly the kind of coverage Adam was looking for, but he still thinks he can improve on it.
In this test, I'll be using this, which is actually a thin sheet of plasticized sheet explosive, sort of a C4 jerky, if you will. But don't eat it. No, I'm gonna paint with it.
But will spreading the explosive under the paint also spread the coverage?
All right, here we go. Final explosion in 3, 2, 1, go. That was more powerful than I expected it to be.
That's a little too much oomph.
Well, let's go see how it did with the painting anyway.
It was less a lick of paint and more a riot of color.
And that goes there.
But piecing back together his canvas has inspired Adam.
Well, for me, that was a very successful and excellent day, and not just because I spent the day blowing stuff up. Because in blowing stuff up, I actually learned, I believe I learned everything I need to know to paint with explosives, including how much explosives is too much. Time to get to work.
So Adam heads back to the shop, where another Mythbuster has been playing with his nozzles.
The way I see it, if I can get a single blast of paint going through a nozzle to cover an entire wall perfectly evenly, then if I have multiple nozzles painting multiple walls, I can get a single blast of paint to paint a whole room. I'm thinking that this sort of flattened orifice here is restricting the paint to where it doesn't come out in a cone, but rather it comes out in a rectangle. And that's exactly what I need.
It's exactly what he needs. But a hose is a long way from an explosion.
With that in mind, I've broken out this rig that I built some time ago because it'll allow me to test with up to about 700 PSI, and we'll see if that fans it out more.
Jamie's aiming for a rectangular spread onto the wall.
Too far open.
But it's a delicate business of tweaking his nozzle just so,
I like the first one better.
until eventually he finds his Goldilocks ratio.
3, 2, 1. It's looking pretty good.
Yep, and with his nozzle in hand, Jamie heads to the bomb range to put part 2 of his theory to the test.
Solid as rock. My theory is that this time around, we need to contain the paint and the explosives in something like this high-pressure scuba tank. And when the explosives go off, the paint will be propelled out the nozzle of the tank, kind of like a spray nozzle, and we'll end up with our nicely painted wall. Hopefully not a pipe bomb.
Yep, Jamie's method all comes down to pressure. But first, what happens when you put explosives inside a tank of paint?
So for this first test, I'm gonna use about a earplug-sized wad of C4 and a blasting cap. Hopefully the tank can hold on to that. All right, this is test 1, C4, no nozzle. In 3, 2, 1, go. Ah, that actually is quite nice. It looks like it sent most of the paint out. No rupture.
No rupture. And even without a nozzle, Jamie covered a third of his canvas.
I'm really delighted with this because, as it turned out, we judged the amount of explosive and the way that we set this up to within a hair of perfection. If we'd gone any farther, the tank would have blown because, as you can see here, it swole, but it didn't blow.
It didn't blow, so Tank 2 is filled with paint and then fitted with the patented Hyneman nozzle. But will the combo of rectangular nozzle and pressurized paint cover the wall?
In 3, 2, 1. Well.
Once again, the tank survived, but the nozzle doesn't seem to have made any difference to the coverage.
We're pushing the limits with what we can get with these tanks. And the fact is that I'm not creating the kind of spread that I need. I need more pressure to get that spread. So I think it's back to the drawing board.
The Mythbusters have been testing, confirming, and busting for over 10 years. And now they're closing the case on some unsolved mysteries.
Now, if you guys don't remember the story, it goes like this. A man is driving his speedboat out of control and crashes into a channel marker, almost splitting the boat in half. Now, he tells the insurance company that he was only traveling at 25 miles an hour.
We tried it. We couldn't split the boat. We couldn't even get a tear.
Yeah, our results were less than spectacular. But according to you fans, that's because our methodology was totally wrong.
Because we didn't do it on water.
Exactly. So right here, right now, we are going to retest it. We're going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
It was the myth they said was cursed. But despite the rain,
I'm pretty much over this one.
the problems,
Did we lose the cable?
the arguments,
We've never used the blue rope.
We always use the
No, we haven't.
and the accidents, the guys could never split the boat.
Oh, the story's buzzed at 25.
However, the fans say this land-loving test was a flub.
All right, 10-year, take 2. What's the plan?
Well, it's obvious. We have to test this on water just like the fans asked.
Well, we need a boat and a channel marker, but how do we get the 2 to crash?
Why don't we do it the same way? This time, we just use power boats.
You make it sound so easy.
Well, now we're older and wiser.
We are older.
Yep, although the myth is the same, crash a speedboat at 25 miles an hour into a channel marker. Instead of testing on the runway, they'll float their boat on a lake. And rather than using a tow truck, they'll use a pair of tow boats. So to weigh anchor on water, it's off to Big Break Marina in Oakley.
So that's the boat.
Oh, that is awesome.
There she is. That brings back memories. Not all of them good.
So here's the boat. It's not the exact same boat as the one in the myth, but it's made of the same stuff. It's the same shape, it's the same length, and the hull has the same braking strength. The advantage is we're doing it on water, in the sunshine, instead of out in the rain on a runway.
But although there's no rain, this test is definitely going to be wet.
Oh, this is gonna be so awesome. Now remember, we have to crash our boat into a channel marker. Now, as you can see, this marina is filled with them, but for some reason, they don't want us to crash our boat into theirs. So we need to plant our own. Now, this is no easy job, and we're talking about a 40-foot pole being sunk 12 feet into the ground while on top of the water. Now, luckily for us, Rob, our friend here, has a floating pile driver.
Indeed, and with Rob driving our pole into the delta, it's time to shape up and ship out.
We've removed the engine just like last time, so we're going to replace the equivalent weight of the engine with barrels full of water.
And with the barrels aboard, it's time to hit the waves.
All right, looks like this is Mythity Split 2's maiden voyage.
It just occurred to me, this is the first time this boat's gonna be in the water for a long time.
Oh my God. Check for holes.
Step 1, it floats.
It floats, and now to give it the equivalent ballast of an engine.
So for this 3-hour tour, are you Gilligan or the professor?
I like to think of myself as a professor. What does that make you?
I think I'm Ginger and Marianne.
Then what does that make Tori?
Gilligan.
The Mythity Split 2 may float, but to get it moving on water, it's going to need help.
These are our towboats. That's right, you heard me, 2 boats, because there's too much water resistance for just one. Each of these boats has a 175 horsepower engine. That should be plenty of power to get our speedboat up to 25 miles an hour.
Up to 25 miles per hour, and into the newly installed picture-perfect channel marker.
Before we rig all the important components to this experiment, I thought we needed a little authenticity and make this look just like the viral photo.
And with the tow system working, they're ready to test. But while the cameras reset,
What?
tragedy strikes.
You're probably wondering why there's a giant barge in the middle of our channel, and we were wondering the same thing. And then that barge got closer and closer to our channel marker, and it actually knocked it over into the water. In fact, our crew right now is looking for it, trying to fish it out. Did you guys find it yet?
Not yet.
This is so Mythbusters. I mean, everything was going so smoothly, something had to go wrong.
But unlike the marker, this myth ain't sunk yet. Could painting be as easy as 3, 2, 1, boom? Well, when the Mythbusters tried this, their TNT DIY was DOA.
I thought it would be a little better than that.
Now, armed with 7 years more explosives experience, their first stop was Painting and Detonation 101.
That's information. That was the whole point of this test.
And back at the shop, Jamie's thankful for all that research.
Having seen this tank darn near rupture from an explosion, points out the fact that when an explosive goes off, the energy from it wants to travel outward evenly in all directions. It's almost a spherical swelling. So, you know, maybe a cylindrical tank isn't the way to go. Maybe we need a spherical tank. But the problem is that you can't just go to the store and buy one like you can a scuba tank. You gotta make your own, and that's not a simple task.
Not a simple task, but the Hyneman mind will find a way. In fact, it looks like he already has.
The thing is, you can't just go get a big chunk of metal and start carving it into a hollow sphere. But if the metal is in sheet form, you can in fact cut it quite easily with a plasma cutter. Then you could cut out a series of washers, essentially, that you would stack together just like these lines on this rubber sphere. And if you bolt those and weld those together, you could make something really massive and strong quite easily.
Jamie's thought up an ingenious flat pack design for his spherical tank.
There we go, 24 1-inch thick washers and 26 assorted other parts to bolt it all together. Looks like it ought to weigh around 3,500 pounds. That's a big heavy sphere.
Yep, that's no moon. So it's off to get those washers plasma cut and then put it all together.
So when this is all assembled, it should hold upwards of 50,000 PSI from the blast. At least that's the plan.
That's the plan, but with over 50 parts, all cut from 1-inch heavy-duty plate,
This thing's a beast.
that's one giant 3D puzzle. But as it's a brain teaser of his own design, Jamie has this riddle wrapped in an enigma all figured out.
The sphere is being made in 2 halves, and each half is basically a stack of different sized washers that get put on top of each other and welded together. Now the holes leave a 10-inch diameter cavity in the middle of this sphere, and that's where the paint and the dynamite goes. There we go. Now when the explosive goes off, all of that paint has got to go somewhere, and so I'm hoping that it'll go right into these sort of funnel shapes in these nozzles and straight out and paint our walls. What it actually will do as far as painting a house, I'm not really sure, but I'm having a ball.
Get it? he's having a ball. And as he works long into the night, it's clear Jamie's sphere has turned to the dark side.
You know, if you want to contain a high explosive, that's what you got to do. That's pretty.
Well, while Jamie's working on whatever flower of death he's building back there behind the forklift, I have been thinking seriously about the explosions that I got out on the bomb range. Oh, right. So they have given me the ideas that I need. I've got all the steel cut. I'm about to start constructing my painting device here in the shop.
Yep, and just like the Hyneman, Adam's device ain't simple.
There's a lot of moving parts to this painting rig, but it's gonna be cool.
Adam welds some frames, and then, well, we're not quite sure what he's doing.
Whew. Coming along.
And that's exactly how he wants it to stay.
All right. At this point, I'd like you to take a moment and speculate on how you think my painting machine works. Because you know what's cool? You're totally wrong. I'm going way off the reservation on this one. Oh, what modern inventions will we come up with next?
So with Adam's secret device apparently complete, and Jamie's giant death sphere on the back of the truck, the war on walls can begin.
3, 2, 1, go!
At the Big Break Marina, there's been a big barge break, and it seems as though the bifurcated boat curse is back.
Ah, good old bifurcated boat. In the great tradition of the Mythity split, this is a completely cursed experiment. We lost our channel marker to that barge, but luckily, we've procured another. The bad news is we do lose a little authenticity as our seagull and our signer at the bottom of the lake. Go ahead, Tori, back it in.
Yep, with 10 years of experience, our crew certainly knows how to salvage a myth. And thanks to their quick thinking and resourcefulness,
I feel like we've done this before.
Because you have.
Pole 2 is good to go. So it's time to get the Mythity split into pole position.
What I have here is 2,400 feet of 5/8 polypropylene rope. Now, this is our lifeline to test this myth. This is what's going to be pulling our boat into our channel marker. It's lightweight and it's strong enough to pull our boat. Best part is, it's not blue.
And now that the fans are getting their watery way, just how much difference will testing in the drink make?
So what's the big deal with water? Well, here's why it might make a difference doing it on water this time. The boat is sitting on the water. Water's incompressible. That means that there's pressure on the hull. That extra pressure might translate into more impact force on the bow, potentially allowing us to split. Second reason is that the keel is now in water, helping to keep the boat straight, so you avoid possibly getting a glancing blow. Now, why might it not make a difference? Well, think about it. The weight of the boat is the same. The speed is going to be the same. Therefore, we're going to have the same amount of kinetic energy hitting that pole. What do I think is going to happen? I don't think we're going to get a split, at least not at 25.
Grant's skeptical, but after their cursed morning, Tori is hoping they can actually push the boat out.
We thought it was hard enough to do it on land. To do it on water, it's going to be 10 times harder. Even now, something could go wrong. The rope could break and the boat takes off. The pulley could come loose and the boat misses the marker altogether. But even if everything goes perfectly and we hit that channel marker with the boat, I still don't think it's going to bifurcate. But at least we tried, for you guys.
Indeed, because with the Mythity split on the line, it's time to test the waters.
All right, there should be one word going through your guys' heads right now, and that's bifurcation.
But will testing this myth afloat split the boat?
All right, the boat's in place.
Channel markers up.
This is bifurcated boat, take 2.
Mythity split it.
In 3, 2, 1, hit it.
The towboats accelerate, and the Mythity split takes off.
Press the boat.
The rope's tensioning.
Boats away.
Oh!
slowly speeding up to the mythical 25 miles per hour.
Here comes the motor!
That looks so crazy. Ghost boat!
It's beautiful.
But will the channel marker finally make its mark?
Come on, come on, come on, come on!
Come on.
Here it comes! Headed straight for the pier! What the heck?
We just took the pillar down!
That was the wrong thing to split.
The marker just got split and the boat kept going. I didn't see that one coming.
I didn't either.
Didn't see that coming either.
That's not how it happened in the myth. That was a good shot, though. It hit it right on the bow.
But it did not split the boat in half. That is the most important thing.
That's an important thing.
Important because in that shocking split-second impact, the tables on this myth turned. The marker bifurcated, and the mythity split refused to live up to its name once again.
The experiment worked perfectly, though it was a little bit surprising. The towboats did exactly what they were supposed to do. They got that boat from a standing start all the way up to 25 miles an hour. The towing system did exactly what it was supposed to do. It got the apex of the boat right into the center of the channel marker. It was just the impact that was a little unexpected, because instead of the boat being split down the middle, the channel marker burst into two. Boat's completely unharmed.
So the whole reason for this revisit is that fans said that without water, our original tests were invalid. You know what? They were right. See, the resistance of the water kept the boat going straight on impact without glancing off. However, the energy of the impact caused the pole to break and not the boat. So ultimately, it's the same result. A busted myth, just a slightly different way of getting there.
Now they say that two of the happiest days of a boat owner's life is the day he buys the boat and the day he sells it. But I won't be happy until we cut that boat in half.
Yep, it ain't over until the mythity split splits. 1. Can you paint a room with a boom? Well, after a little trial and error,
Looks like I need a little bit more work on my nozzle.
each of the Mythbusters have come up with a plan to find out. Down at the range, it's time to test the state of their art.
I don't know what Adam's been up to, but I've had my hands full building my paint bomb, and I didn't have time to build a room to paint. So we brought in a team of carpenters, and they put this 8-foot high by 12-foot square room together as our blank canvas.
The canvas is primed.
Here we go.
But strangely, Adam's not unloading his device anywhere near it.
Allow me to introduce the Snowflake, my painting machine. It is named after both its hexagonal design and its uniqueness. And its design is informed by exactly what I learned out here on the bomb range earlier this week. And this is the result. Some might feel like I have broken the rules with this design.
Clearly, Adam's up to something.
All right, good.
And as he welds the final touches to the Snowflake, Jamie's confused.
I'm guessing the paint goes in the middle.
Yep, right along with the explosives.
So these things are in the way. What, are they supposed to disperse the paint or something?
Nope, these panels are exactly where I want them to be.
Well, how are you going to paint the house?
I'm not going to paint the house. I'm going to paint art that goes in the house.
Oh, paintings with explosives.
Yeah.
I thought I'm the one that's supposed to cheat.
Yeah, I thought I'd steal your thunder this time.
Usually, it's the underhanded Hyneman who decides to bend the rules and stack the odds in his favor. But after 10 years,
Canvas for you.
clearly all that devious designing has rubbed off on Adam.
Well, this all started when I was out here at the bomb range doing my preliminary tests with painting and explosives. I really liked the patterns that I was getting on my target board, and I thought, what if we made art? I'm still technically painting with explosives. I just figured Jamie was gonna go whole hog on getting that room covered with paint, and I could kind of do my own thing. And that's what I did.
And Jamie doesn't mind Adam sidestepping the myth.
I actually think that Adam's design is pretty cool, and it's going to do a nifty job of painting these canvases. And of course, I've also seen like donkeys do it by dipping their tails in the paint. That looks pretty cool as well. You know, there's all sorts of random ways of spreading paint around, and this seems like it ought to work quite nicely.
Now it's time for the snowflake to make its kinetic art debut with 6 marbles of C4 and some paint.
I call this my psychedelic spring. I'm ready to go. Let's get to safety.
All right. Do you think the rig will stand up, or is this a one-off?
Oh, well, the rig's gonna hold up, but it might not be upright when the test is over, but that's fine, it doesn't have to be. If there's dirt on the canvases as well as paint, that's all part of it. You ready, sir?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Painting with explosives to make some art in 3, 2, 1.
Wow, that was quick.
It was quick. But when you slow the explosion to 1,000 frames per second,
Wow. That is insane.
it's also beautiful.
That's a piece of art in and of itself. Look, it's like a clown's head exploded. That is the loveliest thing I have ever seen.
But did that explosive pop of color create pop art?
That's beautiful. All right, there's one. Oh, it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. The tale of destruction wreaked on the canvas.
As Adam canvases his canvases,
Oh, yeah. That's really nice.
it's clear that all 6 were mostly covered with paint.
Well, I don't know much about art, but I know I like making it with explosives.
Yeah, well, 2 of them have some nice colors going. They show some promise. Maybe you could take an art class or something. What do you think?
I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased.
But while the results of Adam's art detto are a little muddy, it's the process that was beautiful.
Nice. Can't wait to see what Jamie comes up with. Top that, Hyneman.
Rocket sled track.
You guys ready for this?
Well, if there's one thing I like, it's fast.
Let's do it.
Would we want to fly a wall down a track and pull for as a car? Do we want to cause a rear-end collision at nearly 400 miles an hour?
That was one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
We come here because A, there's no one around to get in harm's way, and B, nobody does extreme like our friends at New Mexico Tech. Today is going to be no exception.
So why are we taking it to these extremes and using a rocket-powered sled? Well, we tested the myth just like it stated, crashing a boat at 25 miles an hour into a channel marker, but we couldn't get it to split in half. So the myth is busted. But now it's my favorite part of the show where we replicate the results. Now, if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. And I would have to say this is overdoing. But if we can't get this boat to split, I don't know what will split that boat.
Now this is the boat that we're going to use. It's not the exact same boat as the one in the myth, but it's gonna do just fine. It will be weighted the same. It's made of the same materials, and the center of the bow is still hitting the center of the pole. There's only one difference.
Yep, and the reason for that difference is very familiar to the Mythbusters. And inside NMT's high-tech classroom,
Hey, Van.
Welcome back.
Van Romero has the solution.
Flying the boat down a track is a little tricky. Getting a boat to go 100, 150 miles an hour, what's going to happen with a fast acceleration is it's probably going to fly apart. But we do have another option. Instead of moving the boat down the track, let's look at moving the piling down the track.
Awesome.
If we do that, we can accelerate this pipe as fast as we want. We won't have any problems. The physics is identical, as long as we get the closing speed to match what the closing speed that we want.
The roles will be reversed, and the pylon will hit the boat, traveling at the top speed of a speedboat. So it's time to trek back to the track.
Here we are at the very peak of Everest. You can see down there where lesser men have failed, but here we will succeed.
And prepare the sled.
The first thing you'll probably notice about the pole is, unlike our previous experiment, it's metal instead of wood. The reason for this is that at the speeds we're talking about, wood would simply shatter, where we know the metal's not going to shatter. The more important thing is the sheer amount of kinetic energy it's going to generate. The pole plus the sled weighs almost 600 pounds. It's going to be traveling at nearly 200 miles per hour.
See, the key to any good rocket sled experiment? Lubrication.
That's the kind of kinetic energy we need to give this boat split a fighting chance.
We pulled the sled back 200 feet. Lovely. We don't need quite as much run up as we usually do. We're only using 2 rockets and we're only going about 200 miles an hour. We've seen this thing fly 600 miles an hour and filled it with rockets. But this time, we're just enough to get the job done.
But first, the marker needs a maritime makeover.
So we're out here in the middle of New Mexico. There's not a lot of ocean around, so we decided to make it more marine-like, so we brought a seagull. Is that the most irritating thing you've ever heard?
How many people does it take to put up a channel marker in the middle of the desert?
Clearly at least 3.
See, he doesn't want to go. He knows what's in store for him.
With the pole sitting pretty, it's the boat's turn to get nautical.
Ocean spray. I'm going to add a little water to this boat just to keep the fans happy. They really like bifurcated boat to be on water.
Yarr! Get to work, you landlubber! Swab the decks!
See what I'm working with here?
Yarr!
With the Mythity Split 3 in commission, they hoist the sails, so it's floating on air.
Well, there's something you don't see every day. The boat's in place. Now it's time to load up the sled with rockets and see if we can split this boat in half.
3, 2, 1.
Devious Adam moved the goalposts
Wow, that was quick.
and created art with explosives.
That's beautiful.
But now it's the Hyneman's turn to paint and detonate.
You need that.
I do. It's time to load it up.
The Myth requires 100% wall coverage, so Jamie's reducing his boom.
On our first test, we used C4, which is a very fast, high explosive. And in fact, it was too fast to actually push the paint. The shock wave just outran it, and it wasn't what I wanted. So this time we've slowed it down to about 1/4 or 1/5 of that speed with ditching dynamite. This stuff goes off at about 5,000 feet per second, and I'm hoping that it'll have a lot more push with it. So now, should I just push this into the dynamite?
Yeah, we're not going to push it in real hard.
And maybe it'll push some paint.
Maybe it'll push some paint, but will it impress Adam?
No freaking way. What? This looks like it weighs 6,000 pounds.
Yeah, it's only 3,500 or so.
Oh my God. How does this work?
Well, you put the top on and you bolt it down, you pour paint in, it fills up, the dynamite goes off and it shoots the paint out through the jets.
I imagine that if it's properly sealed, when it goes off, we won't hear a thing. We'll just hear.
Well, could be, or it could make a lot of noise if the whole thing blows up. We might hear something extraordinary.
If it's okay with you, I'd like to watch this one from the bunker.
Yeah, this is a dangerous thing.
It is a beautiful thing. Nice work.
And with the dynamite in position, Jamie's planning to paint the town red.
Who knows what the right paint thickness will be for this particular spray paint job. I mean, normally you thin paint a little bit when you put it in a sprayer, so I figure this wouldn't be any different. And in any case, the thinner the paint, the more it's going to break apart when it's sprayed. And why not hedge my bet?
Well, with the paint payload on board, the sphere is locked and loaded.
Congratulations, after all these years, you finally made the Death Star.
Well, let's get out of here before it is actually the Death Star.
The circle is now complete, so it's time to return to base and use the Force. But can it paint an entire room?
Okay, painting with explosives, the paintball, in 3, 2, 1, go.
What happened?
Let's go check it out.
All right.
Wow. That wasn't exactly what I had in mind. But
You've made a 4-wall Rorschach test.
well,
Jamie, what do you see when you look at this blotch?
I see Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. Well, that's not the. Wow, that's quite romantic of you. Who knew? How about this blotch here? Spiders doing the laundry, perhaps? No?
The death ball sprayed a red mist over the walls, but it looks less solid color and more Hollywood horror.
All that work and this is what we get. Well, it's food for thought, isn't it?
And even though he didn't coat all of the walls, Jamie's not disappointed.
Well, I'm tickled pink that my ball actually withstood the high explosive. That was the main thing that I was worried about. And the paint actually came out the jets quite nicely. They did what they were supposed to. They directed the paint at the walls. And you can even see that the jets were starting to shape the spray the way that I wanted to, so that it didn't end up all right in the middle. But as far as painting a house with explosives, it needs a little work.
In this episode, I decided I'd use explosives to make art. And the irony is, Jamie bested me in the making of art. He wins. These are beautiful. This is a freaking gallery installation. I don't know what to do. Final analysis, painting with explosives. What do you think?
Well, we made some fine art today, but as far as painting houses, it's just not practical.
Nah, it's not gonna replace house painters anytime soon. It's gotta be busted. Let's go home.
It would actually be kind of nice to be able to paint your house in a millisecond, wouldn't it?
Deep in New Mexico, things are about to get fast.
So I heard you got some rockets for us. This is the most dangerous part of our day, loading the rockets onto the sled.
It's dangerous, all right. In fact, it's so dangerous, it requires a costume change.
This is an incredibly tense moment, and the reason is that the rockets have their igniters pre-installed. So, just by handling them, they could ignite, and that would be a very, very bad thing. And the other thing that makes it difficult is that the ignition level is not very high, 1 volt at 1 amp. When you just walk around in wool clothing, you could generate a static charge of upwards of 40,000 volts. So that's why we have to remove anything that's not cotton and ground ourselves, because we don't want these things going off.
Yep, they're staying grounded because the power of these rockets could knock more than their socks off.
To send this pylon down the track at 200 miles an hour, we are using vintage Korean War high-velocity aircraft motors. That's going to give us the 200 miles an hour we need, 375 Gs, and 12,000 pounds of thrust. It's going to annihilate the Mythity Split 3.
Indeed, that pylon will be traveling at the maximum speed a super-fast speedboat can go, which means there's no margin for error.
We are set. The sled is loaded with the rockets, the boat is in place. We're about to fire it off. But everything has been going so smoothly, it's got me a little concerned. I mean, considering how much trouble we've had with splitting this boat so far. I mean, the first time we tested this myth, we couldn't split the boat. Not only that, we couldn't even put a dent in it. Then we tried dropping it from a crane, and we hit the crane with the boat. Then we retested it, and a big giant barge came in and knocked over the marker. Then we tried it again, and not only did we not split the boat in half, but we broke the marker in half. I'm just a little concerned right now because everything's going so well.
Well, Tori, just don't jinx it now.
To the bunker. We're all set. We're ready to go. After 7 years of waiting to find out if we could actually bifurcate a boat, We're here in the bunker. We've got our pylon on the rocket sled. The rockets are loaded. Our boat is suspended. We're just ready to get the 3, 2, 1, and I personally think we are going to split this boat this time.
And Carrie's not the only one who smells success.
Okay, so our high-speed cameras are in place. We are ready to go. This is the moment of truth. What do I think is gonna happen? Look, that's a fiberglass boat. It's a steel pole coming at it. That thing is gonna shatter into 1,000,000 pieces. Mark my words.
Well, where the curse of the bifurcated boat is involved, nothing is certain. But they've cleared the decks.
All right, the pylon is loaded and hot. We've got our boat in place.
Batten down the hatches.
This is it, man. Finally. Hopefully we can cut this boat in half.
And now it's full steam ahead.
All right, rocket sled pylon versus boat. 3, 2, 1.
Right down the middle!
Finally! Awesome!
Yep, it seems the curse has lifted, and they finally split the boat.
Finally, after all this time, we bifurcated a boat.
But you know what that shows me? That dude had to be going fast.
Real fast.
Yep.
Let's go check out the carnage.
All right.
Outside, it's clear that this ship is wrecked.
I cannot tell you how happy I am that this boat is finally split.
It's split in two. I mean, it's annihilated, but there is a clear division.
The rocket sled does not disappoint.
It does not. Reaching 200 miles per hour in only 200 feet, the rocket-powered pylon plowed into the prow, tossing the boat into the air, and leaving 2 halves in its wake.
All right, so my prediction was that when the channel marker hit the boat, it would shatter into 1,000,000 pieces. But as you can see here, it actually tore a hole almost all the way down the hull, leaving us in 2 pretty much intact halves. And I've been happier to say that I was wrong. And it just goes to show that even a blunt object like our channel marker could turn into a knife when you add enough speed.
There is no way that guy was going 25 miles an hour. We tried it over and over at 25. We tried it off water, on water. It took 200 before it started to split it. We didn't even get a dent at 25. I think he might have been lying.
7 years in the making, 4 channel markers, 3 boats, a barge, and a crane, but nothing could bifurcate the boat. Until now, with a rocket-powered sled. But it looks like this one's still busted.
Well, that was fun.
What do you think we could put on the rocket sled next?
I don't know. Maybe a bus.
Ooh.